Hello again, everyone. This is Zombie Kids Rule, and I'm back with part 6 of the tutorial for how I recreated the D&D based Eye of the Beholder character generation process in RPG Maker MZ. Again, I apologize if the volume is really low. I am generally only able to record videos when usually when Mrs. Zombie is sleeping, so so I have to be a little bit quiet so she can rest. So you'll just have to turn the sound up a little bit. Sorry, folks. Alright, so part 6. We're going to jump right in. If you haven't watched the previous videos, you probably should, because a lot of the game design, logic, reasoning, the way the events are set up, the way they work, a lot of that is repeated, and I don't re-explain things, or at least I try not to re-explain things. And of course, I said in the very, very beginning, this series of videos assumes that you already have the basic knowledge. For instance, you've already seen how to use the two plugins, text picture and button picture, because I use that a lot. I've previously done tutorials specifically on those. A lot of my tutorials use them. I've explained them many times, so I'm not going to re-explain them here. Alright, so this part 6 is about the dice determination. It's the dice rolls that establish these statistics, and then the next and another common event will take care of the hit points. So this is where we are. We are establishing the dice rolls for the attributes. So this I will also say that I previously did a different tutorial quite a while ago on different options for rolling for dice attributes, like D&D style dice rolling, and there's a whole bunch of them, whole bunch of choices. I researched them, and then I built them and tested them, and then I did an explanation for them. So I just picked one of the methods to use for rolling the dice, because I had no clue how Eye of the Beholder did it, the game itself. And so anyway, I do have another video that goes into all kinds of options for dice rolling. Alright, so what is dice rolling doing? So if you remember, when we were in the common event for Bioscreen, one of the things it did very, very early on was it called the common event dice rolls and the common event for HP determination. So it did it very, very early in the common event. So here's when it calls dice rolls. What's happening? Randomly rolls the 6 attributes, applies the applicable race modifiers, if any, because some races have a +1 or a -1 for certain attributes, and determines the armor class. So what's it going to do? Roll 6 attributes. It's going to roll 4 die 6 and drop the lowest result. Okay, so basically, if you were on a tabletop, you'd roll 4 die 6 and just get rid of the lowest one, and then the other 3 would be your final score. There's going to be a loop array that is doing this, a loop and an array that's doing this. So because dice rolls gets called multiple times, because we have the option to re-roll a character, the first thing this common event is going to do, it's going to reset the loop count and the array variables. So I have a variable for stat loop count, and folks, I reused variables. This project that I'm working in is just a project filled with experiments, and I just reused some variables. So I had a variable for stat loop amount. I set that to 0. I had another variable, stat method array 2. 2. It doesn't matter. I honestly I reused this variable, and I made it a empty array, okay, with the brackets, just an empty array. So now I have my loop. Now what that means is, again, hopefully you know the basics, you know what a loop does. It's going to go through this content as many times as needed until we tell it to break the loop. Right? So it's just going to loop over and over and over and over and over again. So up here, we start our loop. First thing it does, random roll 4 die6 variables. So I have 4 variables, name them whatever you want, and they are randomly generating a number from 1 to 6. Right? So 4 die6 randomly generated. Logic for all conditional branches. If one dice is less than or equal to the other 3 die, then add the other 3 die and push that value to the array to keep the value. Dice checked is not used in calculation and is dropped. Okay, so essentially, the way I did this is the event is going to check, and it's going to say, here are 3 nested conditional branches. If die6 1, that's just the name of the variable, right? So die6 1, die6 2, die6 3, die6 4. If die6 1 is less than or equal to die6 2, and, because it's a nested conditional branch, if die6 1 is less than or equal to die6 3, and if die6 1 is less than or equal to die6 4, so basically what this is saying, if die6 1 is less than or equal to all of these, well, then it can be considered the lowest value, right? You say, well, wait a second, if it's equal to another, it's not the lowest value. Well, that's true, but let's say we roll 4 die6, and we get a 2, a 2, a 4, and a 6. All right, well, a 2 is less than or equal to a 2. Okay, so, right, a 2 is less than or equal to 4, and a 2 is less than or equal to 6. So what's going to happen is, it's going to essentially drop that first 2, right? And now we only have 3 dice left. And so that's the value that's going to end up in the array, right? Because we found our answer right off the bat. But if die 1, right? Because remember these are individual die rolls. If we flipped it around and said, well, die 1 was a 6, and then a 4, and then a 2, and then a 2, it would say if die6 1, which is a 6, is less than or equal to 4, well, that's not true. So it's going to skip this whole thing entirely, right? And it's going to go down to the next one. All right, so that's the logic, and it works. It works perfectly fine. There may be an easier way to do this. There probably is an easier way to do this. But these 3 nested conditional branches are determining which of the dice that you roll is the lowest, or at least it's equal to one of the other dices that is the lowest, and we're going to discard one of them. Okay? So we've done our 3 conditional branches. Add 3 of the die to calculate the total value. So in this case, we were dealing with die 1 being less than or equal to the other 3 die. So we're going to add up the other 3 dice. And that's what this is doing. So this control variable is, again, stat for array. I just reused a variable. Okay, so I'm going to take a variable, and I'm going to add up. So this is in the script field, right? This is in the script field, and I'm going to add up. I'm going to add up the value of variable 557, 558, and 559, because in that script, this is how you do it. $game variables.value, and then this is variable 557 plus variable 558 plus 559. And what were those? 557, 558, 559. So these three conditional branches, if all of these are true, it basically says, well, die 1 is the one we want to get rid of. So we're going to add up die 2, die 3, and die 4. So we're going to add those up and save that in a variable. And then we're going to push the total value to the array. So that's what this script is doing. So $GameVariables.value 552, that's my array, 552, my empty array. And I'm going to dot push the variable, the value of the variable, 576, right, which is this. So we did our 3 checks. It determined that die 1 is the lowest, so it adds up the other 3 dice, saves that total in a variable, and then it takes that variable, pushes that value into the empty array, and then jump to label dropped to skip remaining conditional branch checks because we found our lowest dice, or we found the dice that we're going to drop. So jump to label dropped, which means we jump all the way down to, whoops, did I miss it? Let's see. Jump to label dropped. Oh, there we go. Label dropped. Okay. All right. So that means we skipped these other conditional branch checks. All right. So now this is our first full check. We checked our first dice result. All right. So 3 nested conditional branches. Well, then we're just going to check the next ones. So this is very similar to this. It's just you got to change the variable that you're checking. So now it says if die 6-2 is less than or equal to die 6-1, if die 6-2 is less than or equal to die 6-3, if die 6-2 is less than or equal to die 6-4. So if all these are true, then we're going to basically get rid of die 6-2 and save the other 3, right? Because if this wasn't true, then we check to see if this is true. And then it's the same thing. You just got to make sure that you change which variables you're adding up. So now you're adding the variable for die 6-1, die 6-3, and die 6-4, saving that to your variable that you're going to then push into the array. And then if these are true, you're going to jump to that label dropped so you can skip the rest of these. This is exactly the same. It's a copy and paste. You just change this conditional branch. If die 6-3 is less than or equal to die 6-1, if it's less than or equal to die 6-2, if it's less than or equal to die 6-4, then all you have to do here is make sure you're adding the right variables, right? Die 1, die 2, die 4, and then push that value to your empty array, jump to label drop, so you skip this one. And then down here is your last check. So basically it went through here and said, nope, these 3 are not true. Nope, these 3 are not true. Nope, these 3 are not true. Well, in that case, if all 3 of those were not true, I could have just eliminated this probably and just had it add up, but you know, whatever. I didn't test it that way, so this works regardless. Because if these 3, if this isn't true, and this isn't true, and this isn't true, well then this has to be true. There's no other choice. But anyway, if die 6-4 is less than or equal to die 6-1, die 6-2, and die 6-3, right? You just have to change your conditional branches, then add up the correct variables, die 1, die 2, die 3, push that value to the empty array, jump to label dropped. Now again, you don't have to jump to label dropped here, because label dropped is the very next thing. If those other 3 weren't true, it's going to do this, and it's going to immediately proceed down here. So this is really unnecessary. Honestly, these really are unnecessary. We could have just had this and this, right? Because if this isn't true, and this isn't true, and this isn't true, then these have to be true. So we could have just done this, and then had it continue flowing. But regardless, I just built it the way it was, and it worked fine. So now, increase variable for loop count, right? Because we're still inside that loop. And remember, these conditional branches, this is just rolling for the first attribute, for strength. right? So it does all this, figures out which attribute. What 3 dice are we going to use for the first attribute, and that's what's pushed to the array. So then we're going to increase our loop count by 1, so increase that variable by 1. Then we're going to check if loop count has reached 6, because we have 6 attributes. Then, if yes, then break the loop. So if the variable stat loop amount is equal to 6, break the loop. Otherwise, repeat above. So it's gonna check and say, I've done this once, which means my loop count is 1. Oop, this is not true. I'm going to go back up and I'm going to start at my loop again. And I'm going to re-roll the 4 dice. I'm going to go through my checks. I'm going to push a value into my array, so then I will have 2 array values, right? 1 for strength, 1 for intelligence. And then it'll just keep doing that. It'll keep doing this until you have 6 attributes. And then it'll break the loop, which means it'll jump down to here. Okay? So that's how I did the initial dice rolling. All right, so now we have to deal with racial modifiers. So, racial modifier adjustments. Humans, half-elves have no modifiers. And remember, I'm just following the eye of the beholder, old D&D based rules, and however they modified the D&D based rules. Attribute positions in array. So inside my array, remember that for an array, the positions start at 0. So strength is 0, intelligence is 1, all the way up to charisma. Okay, that's the positions in my array. Race variable numbers. So again, this was from a previous part of the tutorial. Humans are 1, elves are 2, all the way up to halflings are 6. This is just a variable. So we have to do some conditional branches. If race variable number equals 2. Now, way back in one of the tutorials when we talked about selecting a race, one of the things we did was when we selected a race, we updated the race variable with a number, 1 through 6, depending on the race. This is where we're using it. So if conditional branch race variable number is 2, then that means it's an elf, dexterity +1, constitution -1. So we're going to increment, increase, or decrement, decrease the applicable values in the array. And this is how you do it. You use a script, $gamevariables.value. This is the variable number, 542, which is my array. And then if you want to do something with a specific element, right, a specific value in a specific position of the array, you use brackets, you put the position number, and then if you want to increase it by 1, you just do ++, and if you want to decrease it by 1, you do -. So this is saying, let's see, position number 3 is dexterity, and elves have a dexterity of 1, so take the variable that is the array, take the number that is in position 3, which is dexterity, and increase it by 1. And then for constitution, which is position 4, take that array, the value that is in position number 4 of the array, the constitution roll, and subtract 1 from it, -. So this is going to be repeated for all the adjustments that need to be made. Okay? So this only runs if your race variable number is a 2 for an elf. So then it checks and it says if race is dwarf. So if race variable number is 4, then dwarves have a +1 constitution, a -1 charisma. So these just have to be, can be copy and pasted. So this entire thing can be copy and pasted. And then you just have to update it. Update your comment, update your variable value, update your comments, and then update the position of the value in the array that you want to increase or decrease. So this is the exact same thing, checking for gnomes. If race variable number is 5, Gnomes have an intelligence +1, wisdom -1. Change the appropriate value in the array that is storing your 6 attributes. And then finally, does the exact same thing for halfling. Okay, strength -1, dexterity +1, and then change the appropriate appropriate value in the correct position of the array. Okay, minus, minus, plus, plus. So that's what this portion's doing. It's adjusting the values in your array for your attributes. Now it's just waiting 5 frames. Again, just in case the event is going to run too fast to do something and record something. This may not even be needed, but sometimes I have to. Sometimes when things aren't working right, if you just put a very tiny weight in, then it will work okay. Because immediately after we do these adjustments, we're going to do something with those array values. So anyway, sometimes you need a very tiny weight to make sure the event isn't running too fast. Okay, so now what's going to happen? AC adjustment based on dexterity, base value of 10. So what this is saying is that when in the character generation process, it does not consider any armor that you're using. So just a character who has no armor, they're standing naked, has a armor class of 10. So in the character generation process, you're going to, if they have an AC bonus based on their dexterity or a penalty, well, actually, the penalties aren't going to be seen, because if your character's naked and there's no AC more than 10. All right, so based on this this system, so the lowest your AC can be, or the highest, I guess, if you want to look at it that way, is an AC of 10. So even if you have a dexterity penalty, it's not going to affect your base AC. It would affect it later on when you're wearing armor. So if your armor gives you a benefit of, say, 5, and you had a dexterity penalty of -1, then the armor would only give you a benefit of 4. Okay, so anyway, that's just the logic there. Positive adjustments to AC for low dexterity. That should actually be. This should actually be negative adjustments. Well, positive adjustments. Anyway, what this is trying to say is, if you have a low dexterity, it's not going to apply to the base value. It's only going to apply when you start wearing armor. And then what is the adjustments? If you have a dexterity of 18 to 19, it's a -4. So your AC goes from 10 to 6. It's a 17, -3, 16, -2, 15, -1. So you're trying to lower your armor class. So we're going to have conditional branches to set attributes for selected character box. So remember, in all the previous parts, we were dealing with 4 different boxes for 4 different characters being created, and we have variables for each one of those characters that we're creating. So this series of variables is, here is my first character, here are my variables, CC1 strength, CC1 intelligence, and so on. This is just it's copying the value of the from the array, from the proper position of the array. So what this is doing, it's saying the value of variable 542, right? That's the array. Okay, so 542 is my array. The value in position 1. Position 0, because the array positions start at 0. The value of the value at position 0 in the array 542. Save that, assign that to the variable CC1 strength. The value in position 1 of the array, assign it to intelligence. 2 wisdom. So all the way down through. So there's 6 attributes. That 6 values stored in the array, and this is how you take you're not removing it from the array. You are basically copying, if you will, the value of the element in the array in that position and assigning it to another variable. Okay? So now this is extracting those attribute values that we put into the array, and it's assigning it to the appropriate attribute for CC1, because that's the conditional branch we're in, right? This entire thing here is going to be if we're dealing with the first character. And then what you're going to see, just like in other tutorials, other parts of this series, this is going to be repeated for character 2, and then it's going to be repeated for character 3, and finally repeated for character 4. So once you get this done, right, once you get the first one done, it's a copy and paste, and you just have to make sure that you're changing your switches and your variable numbers. Okay? All right, so if CC box 1 switches on, assign the values to the appropriate variables for the 6 attributes. I already explained that. Conditional branches to add additional values to fighter type classes. When the strength roll is 18 and a strength bonus switch is on. Remember back when we were dealing with selecting classes and we were setting the fighter type classes switch, and we were also setting the strength bonus switch? This is why we were doing it. So, conditional branches. If CC1 strength equals 18, okay, well, not all characters that have an 18 strength also get a strength bonus. So it checks first, is the strength 18? All right, so that this is a variable. Then it's going to do another conditional branch check. So first let's do this, and yeah, okay. So there's no else's. Yeah, there's no else's anywhere in this in this nested set of conditional branches. So if the value of the variable for strength is 18, it's going to then check if, right, if the strength bonus is on, right, if the strength bonus is on. So that's a switch. Okay, so if the strength is 18 and the strength bonus is on, then we're going to take another variable, which is CC1 strength bonus, and we're going to generate a random number from 1 to 100. Then we're going to have conditional branches to fix the STR bonus value results for D&D style display. So for D&D style display, we don't have it as just a 1, it's a 0, 1. Or at least back in the day it was. And a 100 is 0, 0. Okay? So a character with an 18, 05, you're going to see it as 18/05. And an 18100 is 18/00. So this is changing the way the variable is being displayed. Okay? So here we go. New conditional branch nested underneath these. If, right, so these are separate conditional branches nested under this one. Okay, nested under this one. If CC1 strength bonus is less than 100 but greater than 9, then you're just going to take the actual bonus, right? So 10 to 99, and save it in the variable for CC1 bonus display. All right, so this is easy. This, you don't have to do anything with the number. However, if the strength bonus, right, this is a variable, is less than 10, then we want to pad that number with a 0, meaning we want to put a 0 in front of it. By default, if you have a variable number 9, it's going to just show as 9. So that you're taking the variable for the CC1 bonus display, and you're putting this into the script for that variable down here, right? And this is how you put a 0 in front of a number. So string, and then within parentheses, $game variables.value and then within parentheses 841, right? So that's my my random roll strength bonus. So take the value of this variable, right? Dot pad start, and then within parentheses, it's starting at position 2, and then you're padding a 0. So this is a string, right? So it's a quotation marks, and it's a 0. So you're basically, well, I won't say that's a string. You're adding a 0 to the beginning of the number. And you can change these, so you could add more than 1 0 if you wanted to, right? Based on this number here. So anyway, this is something you can play around with. But in order to put a 0 at the beginning of the number, we use this string. So it is actually creating a string. Take a variable, dot pad start, and then tell it, where to put the zeros. And the ending result, in this case, will be a 0, and whatever this random number was, that's less than 10. So it would be 1 to 9. Okay? That's what this is doing. And then this one it's basically saying if the variable strength bonus is greater than 99, so basically if it's 100, right? If it's 100, then for your variable CC1 bonus display, just make it a string, 0, 0. Just make, this is quotations, you're making it a 0. I'm sorry, you're making it 2 zeros, 0, 0. So that's 18100. Okay, so that's what these 3 conditional branches are doing. They are taking the random 1 to 100 that you're rolling for the strength bonus, and then they're making it so that you can display it either as the number it was, 75, 25, 55, or 01, 02, 03, 04, or 00 for 100. Okay, that's what's happening here. All right, so now we've taken care of our strength. Now we have to figure out if there's any modifications. Well, we have to figure out our AC based on our dexterity. So conditional branches to assign the appropriate value to the appropriate AC variable based on the appropriate dex attribute value. So I worded it this way so I don't have to change the comments when I copy and paste for character 2, character 3, character 4. All right, so we have unique variables here, right? Because we're still in CC1. If, you notice these are all separate conditional branches. So if CC1 dexterity is greater than 17, so that means it's an 18 or 19, set the variable for CC1 AC, set it to 6. If the variable for CC1 dexterity is 17, then set the variable for CC1 AC to 7. If it's 16, set it to 8. If it's 15, set it to 9. And then if it's less than 15, it equals 10. Okay? And then we don't have to worry about negatives because, again, like I explained before, the negatives are only going to come into play when you actually put on armor or you put on something that is supposed to lower your AC. Okay, so basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 conditional branches. Whoops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 conditional branches to set the AC that is based on the dexterity roll, and it's saving a unique variable, right, for this character, CC1 AC. So then I had to add this at the very end because I forgot that paladins have to have a minimum of a 17 charisma. Oops. Oh no, that's right. No, this is in the right spot. So here's another conditional branch because we're almost done with CC1, right? So you see CC2 here. So this is the end of what we have to do with character 1. So as a final step, if paladin switches on, so meaning that we're making a paladin, paladins have to have a minimum of a 17 constitution. So if CC1, I'm sorry, charisma. If CC1 charisma is less than 17, then set the CC1 charisma variable value to 17. So if it's a 16 or lower, set it to 17. If it's already an 18, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to leave it as 18. Okay? So that's what this little conditional branch is doing. All right, it's accommodating for, if you have a paladin, then make sure that if it's anything less than 17, it's going to be a 17 instead. Okay? And that is what we have to do for CC1 if we're creating the first character. This is just a copy and paste of the previous one that we did, CC box 1. You just got to be very careful that you are changing all the variables and all the switches. And I made mistakes here because if you just miss one of them, you might not know it until it just randomly pops up. So you have to be very careful. So I'll just highlight, right, the changes that you have to make. So copy and paste CC1, and paste it down. Change this if CC box 2 switches on. Okay, you have to change all of these variables because you're dealing with CC2 strength, CC2 intelligence. This stays the same because you're still pulling from the array and you're still pulling from the positions in the array. So you're just changing these variables. You're not changing this over here. You have to make sure you update this conditional branch because you're dealing with if CC2 strength equals 18. The strength bonus here, you don't have to change this conditional branch, but you do have to change this variable, so it's CC2 strength bonus. You have to change these conditional branches. If CC2 strength bonus, right? 2 strength bonus. So you have to change, this one, this one, this one, and this one. You got to change all those conditional branches. You got to make sure you're using the correct variable, right? Because remember, these are variables. And then you got to change the variable here. And this is where you can go astray because you might change this variable if CC2 bonus display, but then forget to change this variable, right? So when I'm here, I might change 1 to like CC2 instead of CC1, but then forget to change this one. So that's where you can make a simple mistake. Down here, again, same thing. You've got to update this variable, but this, this 842, no, 842 doesn't change, or does it? Yes, it does, as 842 is unique to CC2. So again, make sure you're changing your variable here, and you change your variable here. Then you have to change this variable, right? So this conditional branch and variable and this variable. Okay, and then when you get down here, you have to change each one of these, right? You have to change both the conditional branch variable, CC2 dexterity, and you have to change the variable for the AC, CC2 AC, right? So you have to do that for each one of these, update the variable condition and the variable that's being given a value. So you update all those, and then again, this one, Paladin switch stays the same, but then you got to change this variable condition, right? The condition of this variable. Oh, and actually, here's a mistake. So here's a mistake, folks. I didn't even catch it. So if CC2 charisma is less than 17, then you need to set the control variable. This should be CC2. So, oops, there's an uncaught mistake. So this is 759. So we're going to go down here. 759 was here, so this needs to be CC2 charisma. See, this is how easy it is to make a mistake. So I didn't catch that before, so I'm fixing it now. So boy, oh boy, if you watch this video, if you watch any of these tutorials and you see that I made a mistake, that I didn't change something, and I don't catch it, by all means leave a comment, because that would have been a pain in the butt later. it would have eventually come out maybe somewhere, but okay, so I changed that. See, good example of how easy it is to miss one of these. And then that completes CC2. So I'm going to skim through the rest of these just to make sure I probably, because I copied and pasted, I guarantee you I missed this the next 2 times as well. Guarantee it. So we're going to do this one. If CC3 switches on, update your variables for CC3 attributes. These over here stay the same. Make sure you're using CC3. This conditional branch stays the same. Here's a new variable, CC3. CC3, 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 843, 843, okay, perfect. CC3, CC3, okay. So again, copy and paste, but just make sure you're updating your variables and your switches appropriately. Let's see. Now, dexterity, CC3, 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 okay. Here it is, here's my mistake. Paladin switch, that stays the same. If CC3 charisma is less than 17, then it needs to be CC3 charisma. You know, look at that, making a video and find out that I made a mistake that I didn't catch. And I'll just tell you folks, it took me a week and a half, I think, to fix everything from playtest and all this, because I missed many things over and over again. All right, so fix that. So now we get down to box 4. If CC box 4 switches on, so change that, change your attribute variables. This stays the same. CC4, that stays the same. CC4, 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 CC4. I missed these a bunch of times. CC4, CC4, 844, that should be the same. Yep, 844. CC4, CC4. Okay, CC4, 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 and then here's my mistake again with the Paladin. So if CC4 charisma is 17, then CC4 charisma. Okay, perfect. There we go. So there were 3 mistakes in there that who knows when they would have shown up, right? Who knows when they would have shown up? But they didn't show up in testing the first time. So anyway, took care of that. And that finishes the event for dice rolls. Okay, I'm going to end this video here because this has already been pretty long. And when I come back with part, I don't remember now, part 7 maybe? I don't know if this might be part 6. I can't remember. I'll double check. We will go on to HP determination, so hit point determination. That's another very lengthy common event. And then, but again, you're going to find that once you do the first character, then character 2, character 3, character 4, it's all just copy and pasting and making sure you change your variables and your switches as necessary. So once we get the HP determination, then we're entering into the home stretch. We have to show how to scroll the portraits right and left, how we select the portraits, how we do our final options like re-rolling the attributes, modifying the attributes, changing the faces, keeping the character, naming the character, viewing the character, modifying the attributes, actually there's quite a bit left. But some of these events are actually much shorter, right? So much shorter. So for instance, when we re-roll a character, we are actually going to end up calling this common event again, which we've already done, right? We've already covered the common event, so some of these will be much shorter events. All right. Well, again, folks, I hope this was helpful. I hope you are getting something of value from these, even if you don't want to recreate this entirely. I hope that the explanation of the logic and the reasoning and the different ways that you can approach this, I hope this is helpful for you. I hope you're learning something new. I will just tell you that I learned quite a few new things while I was recreating this, so it was very helpful for me. I learned quite a bit, and so this was fun for me, and I hope this is helping someone else as you are learning RPG Maker, and especially if you want to go down the path of trying to make something that has D&D style elements to it. All right, so thank you very much, folks, for watching. Again, if you find these videos helpful, please consider liking, subscribing, getting notifications, leaving comments. Again, if you notice something in here that looks like a mistake and I don't catch it, please point it out to me, because that way I can fix it, because it's very easy to make a simple little attention to detail mistake. I've already caught hundreds of them, and so I'm happy to have people point them out to me. If I'm not being sufficiently clear, if something is confusing, again, please leave a comment, give me feedback. I will try to change what I'm doing in the future, or I will try to clarify if you have a question for something. And other than that, until I have a chance, again, Mrs. Zombie is still sleeping, but I don't think I have time to make another video. We'll see. But until then, until we have time to do something else, I hope you are having a great New Year. I hope happy gaming, happy game making, happy game developing. I hope you're having a blast working with RPG Maker, and I will, again, feel free to leave me comments, and even if it's just to say hi. Or you can find me on rpgmakerweb.com, the forums. I have the same username over there, Zombie Kids Rule. I'm over on the forums if you ever want to stop by and just say hi. You can private message me or whatever. So thank you very much, folks. Again, have a great day, and I will talk to everybody later. Bye.